yourself to love.
Ladies and gentlemen, Doc Holly.
Hey guys, it's so good to have you here with me again for another episode of When Doc Speaks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Listen, this week's topic, this week's focus is going to be, when you are faced with toxic people. Listen, hear me out. When you are faced with toxic people, just remember, I went on a journey to cultivate this aspect because a lot of times in life, we tend to not want to deal with people who are challenging, who are difficult. We all have relationships with difficult people. It's inevitable. We're not going to escape it. But for me, when I say difficult, I mean people who are in some way like toxic, self-centered, arrogant, ignorant, judgmental, needy, play the role of the consummate victim, inconsiderate, bossy, dishonest, or insert whatever you want to, honey, of any negative personality traits right there, okay? Or heaven forbid, combine them all. You can combine them all, but Lord, if you did, I'll tell you, you really got a challenging person on your hands. But you know what? When it's all said and done, of course, you know at least one, right? Although a lot of people advise us to cut negative people out of our lives, they're like, just get rid of them, cut them off, do this, da, da, da. It's not even often feasible or even realistic that that's going to happen, because in life, you're going to continue to encounter people who are difficult, who are challenging, who are toxic. So sometimes the most that we can do is learn how to deal with the challenging people as best as we can and try to protect ourselves in the process. Okay. Now, I wanted to share for a moment because I've been dealing with a difficult person for a little bit. And if you're put into a situation like that, you'll find that when you deal with people who are difficult, they give you a sense of, and I'm being real, they give you a sense of anxiety. Sometimes they make you angry. They frustrate you. They create distress, as a result of the relationship that you have with them. And here's the thing, guys, I am not a passive person. I am very authoritative. I'm very direct. It is what it is. But one thing that anyone that knows me in an intimate way, that I've known, that I've had friendships with close family members will say that will be true, is that I, in essence, have a high respect for people and a genuine love for people. So I really, in essence, as a woman of faith, will do my due diligence to care for people in a manner of God's way. And that can go in so many different directions, and that's a whole nother topic for another day. But I'm not passive by far. And there have been times that I've tried to defend myself, by speaking up when I feel like, I've been wrong. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, my character stands for itself. I don't have to justify myself to anyone, right? I'm accountable to the Most High. And so I've learned through that when it comes to certain people, doing that, it don't even get you anywhere. So my reaction, no matter how practiced or collected, it only in essence will make things worse. Hear me out, guys. Whenever you respond to toxic people, it only makes things worse. Okay? And that's because problem people love a reaction and don't respond to a reason. They're not like, you can try to be reasonable. You can try to get down. They're not going to respond to reason. So never once have I succeeded with words when it comes to these kind of people in my life. there's not going to be successful. Anytime that I've dealt with difficult, challenging people, and you try to get a word in and try to speak, I promise you, you're not going to succeed. And so all we can do when it comes to people like this is try to really enforce healthy boundaries and remember that their negativity has nothing to do with you. I promise you, that thing is rooted. It didn't just surface just because you're experiencing something with them. It is a root issue with those people. And so, this is hard. When someone makes accusations about your life, or directs, their anger or frustration at you, it is really hard to remember that it has nothing to do with you, right? And so that's why I wanted to take a moment here with this particular episode to give you some things, some sayings to help you to remember when you're faced with these challenging people, to help you to remember to turn to these sayings and just think on these things, right? Meditate on these things, okay? So the first one that I want to give you is this one. Number one, there are some people who always seem angry and continuously look for conflict. Walk away. The battle they are fighting isn't with you. It is with themselves. Do you hear me? Now, we may not be able to walk away forever, but we can certainly take a break. Excuse yourself, talk to other people, try to avoid being alone with difficult people, avoid them as best as you can. Because I am telling you, the energy that they're giving off to you when it comes down to the bottom line, baby, that battle is really not with you. It is really with themselves. I promise you that. The second thing I want you to meditate on when you find yourself faced with challenging, toxic people, don't waste words on people who deserve your silence. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. See, when we say nothing, we can't be misquoted or misunderstood. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. When we say nothing, we can't be misquoted or misunderstood. We also don't have to anxiously await a response, because saying nothing shuts communication down, and sometimes that is the best possible thing that you can do. Okay? The third thing I want you to meditate on when faced with toxic people, remember this: people who are not happy with themselves cannot possibly be happy with you. Let me repeat that one more time, because I think you was having lunch or eating some food or something. I think you didn't hear me right. People who are not happy with themselves cannot possibly be happy with you. Now, I know firsthand how true this is, because when I was miserable, I made everyone around me miserable. And so the reality is when someone isn't happy with you, and you can think of nothing that you've done to deserve it, try to remember they're just miserable. And it's not about you, baby. It is not about you. The fourth thing that I want you to remember is this: pay attention when people react with anger and hostility to your boundaries. You have found the edge where the respect for you ends. Woo-wee! Now, I know that hits some people. Do you hear me? Someone who respects you respects your boundaries, plain and simple. Do you hear me? This is real stuff, and I really want to make sure that you guys are really getting this. The fifth thing that I want you to remember is this: people who are the most difficult to please are often the least worth pleasing. Let me repeat that. People who are the most difficult to please are often the least worth pleasing. So the point that I'm making is, why work so hard to please someone when whatever you do never seems to be enough? What does this person add to your life other than frustration with their bottomless pit of need? Is it worth it? Think about it. Number 6, respond intelligently even to unintelligent treatment. Don't be laughing at me. Respond intelligently even to unintelligent treatment. I interpret this as don't stoop to their level. Don't sacrifice your integrity and intelligence. Be the smarter one in the room. You owe it to yourself, baby. You owe it to yourself. The next thing that I want you to remember is the less you respond to negative people, the more peaceful your life will become. The less you respond to negative people, the more peaceful your life will become. And this is so true because the less you respond, the less you will be in contact with them. You see what I'm saying? Silence it out. Remove yourself from it. The next thing I want you to remember is this. Try not to take things personally. What people say about you is a reflection of them and not you. See, we are all mirrors for other people. We dislike in others what we dislike in ourselves. But many people lack enough self-awareness to actually understand that. Now, I got to repeat that part for the people in the back for sure. Listen, we dislike in others what we dislike in ourselves, but many people lack enough self-awareness to understand that. I want you to remember these things. The next thing that I want you to remember, rudeness is the weak person's imitation of strength. And my God, let me try this one more time. Rudeness is the weak person's imitation of strength. Bullies bully because they don't know how else to be strong. Baby, put a pin right there. Do you hear me? Please remember that. The next thing that I want you to remember, don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. You hear me? Don't allow yourself to be hurt as a result of the stories in other people's heads. Don't do it to yourself, honey. You owe it to yourself to be good to yourself. You know what I say. Listen, the next thing that I want you to remember, and this is my last point, and I've given you 11, is this. Do not get upset with people or situations. Both are powerless without your reaction. And I'm going to repeat that again. Do not get upset with people or situations because both are powerless without your reaction. Reactions are like oxygen. Everything burns out without them. Okay? So listen, I know that you have been faced with some people who have been toxic, been very challenging, very difficult to deal with. I know that these people have been, like I said, self-centered, arrogant, ignorant, judgmental, needy, played the role of the consummate victim, inconsiderate, bossy, dishonest. Oh my gosh. Or the big old combo package. But nonetheless, I want to encourage you to always put yourself in a position and remind yourself of these things that we just spoke of today. That the next time that you are faced with these people, these toxic people, that their behavior is not to be taken personally. And you owe it to yourself to not stoop to their level, to not give energy. Okay? All right, guys. I hope that this has been some solid nuggets for you, as it has been for me in my life. Please remember to like this, to share it with your family and your friends, and make sure that you are following this podcast and come back for more, okay? Now listen, make sure that you take time to do some self-care. Love on yourself. Strengthen yourself for the journey, because life has enough challenges of its own to add other people to the mix and to bring you further down. So you make sure you take care of yourself, and you can continue to run on and see what the end is going to be. I tell you what, it's some great things in store for you. I promise you. You deserve it. All right, y'all. See you next week.